listen to Wrestling Wrap on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. As always, I'm Grady, and live on Skype we got Josh.
Aye.
Happening, I guess, minutes before we record this, NXT Roadblock for this year. Quite a lot of storyline implications on this show, so we're just going to jump around some of the important stuff. I guess, we got, on the main roster, we're seeing Bron Breakker popping up. He had a match on SmackDown, but he is still on NXT as well, pulling that double duty, successfully defending his tag team championship against Chase U.
Yeah. As much as we love Chase U, this was not a good pairing for Breakker and Corbin. It's still a fun match, but it was definitely not, I think, the team that takes out the Wolf Dog.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really hard, especially when you've got Bron Breakker doing what he's doing on the main roster, and Baron Corbin, who's such an established main roster talent as well. It's kind of like when Becky Lynch held the NXT Women's Championship, and you just start asking questions around, well, who does take the tag team titles? Who is strong enough to be able to take out, two people of that caliber? And it's a really short list, and as you said, Chase U ain't on that list.
Now, they could always win it in like a fatal four-way or something. That's you don't have to actually defeat the champions to win the titles, but that's probably not the plan here.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, as the weeks go on. I don't know how long before we want to commit to a Bron Breakker being fully on the main roster. I feel like that's kind of the deadline for his NXT run, is when the main roster wants to pull the trigger and have him up there 24/7.
Yeah, I honestly, I think it'll be the stand up and deliver. I think that's when they'll lose it. It's just a question of who they actually build up to them on the roster. But I do think that the title run ends there, because I think they will want to go full force with Bron Breakker following WrestleMania.
Yeah, this WrestleMania might be a bit more of a holding pattern, as you say, maybe stand and deliver not on WrestleMania card, or not in a prominent match, and then the rocket ignites and the moon is our target. Also looking at NXT Tag Team Championships this time, the Women's Tag Team Championship, the Kabuki Warriors came on down to NXT to defend against Lyra and Tatum Paxley, retaining their titles, but it's more the post-match, I guess, that I want to talk about, with Roxanne Perez flipping that heel switch and going after Valkyria.
I guess it makes sense. I'm honestly surprised that Roxanne hasn't already moved up as well. I think she's ready, but maybe they see something that they need to work on or something. But yeah, it's just going to be a different era, delve of her character. Something they've been kind of heating with some of the darker matches that she's had in the past few months. They just decided to go full force with it, and of course they were never going to beat the Kabuki Warriors. But it is nice to see the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship defended for NXT, especially since, even though we hated the existence of the titles, they did merge it with the NXT titles, taking away the NXT Women's ability to wrestle for that title.
Yeah, I think it's good to see them down here every so often. I don't think it harms them, especially when, they are in a major storyline at the moment, up on the main roster with Damage Control, but you can still pop down and do a one-off match. You don't necessarily have to build stories that involve the Kabuki Warriors. Like here, the story was about getting the number one contendership for those titles, and then you just have them pop in, defend them, and pop out again. There's no harm in that. And if anything, it gives a shine onto a couple of the NXT women who get to have that match against, the likes of the Kabuki Warriors, and see how Lyra and how Tatum stack up, I guess. For me, the Roxanne Perez heel turn provides, as you say, a bit more of another wrinkle to the character. It is someone who I saw as a predominantly face character, so it will be interesting to see what sort of archetype they end up going with her. and if she can pull off this more aggressive Roxanne. I think she can. I think it'll just be a moment of waiting around and seeing it. I think she's going to probably pull off the sort of desperate to get her title back kind of story. It also puts her as the same alignment as her frenemy / arch nemesis Cora Jade, who seems to pop in and out around the place. Could potentially re-involve with that. Or, as you say, head up to the main roster post-WrestleMania, or in any sort of draft or any other kind of thing that she may end up finding herself in.
I mean, this could be like with Bron Breakker, where we were certain he was going up last year after WrestleMania, after he lost the title, and he turned heel as part of his development. This could be part of her development, to see what she can do as a heel in the company, so they know what to do when they do get her on the main roster full time. So, but you mentioned Cora. But isn't Cora out for like months because of a knee injury or something?
Yeah, Cora doesn't seem to stay healthy for all too long.
Yeah.
Or not always healthy. That's, I guess, a real harsh way to put it. But isn't wrestling consistently for long periods of time at the moment. I think she's had a couple different issues that have taken her in and out of the ring and out for periods of time and stuff like that. Well, talking about people being back in the ring after periods of time, William Regal appears on screen in a segment with his son. Charlie Dempsey just recently won the Heritage Cup off of the Metaphor, and now we're getting hints of a little something. We're acknowledging the lineage or the family history there. What do you think we're going to get from William Regal going forward?
I don't know, but it is the second time we've seen him on WWE television this year.
Mm-hmm.
The first was the introduction of Ava as the GM.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's interesting. I want to see more out of Chase Dempsey. I want to see more character, more development. I hate this title. I've said that so many times.
You don't like the silver trophy?
But if it's something that can bring out his character, and his father, who is one of the ultimate characters in all of wrestling, especially as a bad guy, can coax him into what he needs to be, I think we're set up for a potential major player down the road. Maybe not a main eventer, but there's nothing wrong with being an upper mid-card gatekeeper type character, which technically, for a while, that was William Regal's role.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of funny that, like, if you ask me right now, I think Charlie Dempsey's ceiling is very similar to William Regal's ceiling. And his role when he was on WWE television.
Well, I would say this. There is actually, as far as I'm aware of, there was a plan for William Regal to win the WWE Championship at some point, but he sabotaged it by getting suspended.
Yeah. Hopefully we don't see a repeat of that.
Yeah. So so even being upper mid card, you can still get a world title run. Assuming that the title still isn't held by Roman Reigns by then.
12 years from now.
But it's. I think I like watching NXT because I love seeing how the future develops. Mm-hmm. Being mixed in with some of the bigger names that come in from time to time, but you don't really know about them. But you've heard of them. And then you have occasional return like Shawn Spears, which... That match was just basically just to beat down somebody so that he could taunt Rich Harlan. So go figure on that one. But
that's a pretty basic 1, 2, 3 by the numbers match, right? You bring in the returning guy. The returning guy looks good. Reintroduce him to the crowd, and as you say, push forward his storyline with Ridge.
I wouldn't say 1, 2, 3. I'd say 1, 2, 10.
Fair. And then, looking at the last match on the card, number one contendership, it was Carmello Hayes taking on Tony D'Angelo. See who will take on Ilya Dragunov. I believe it's Stand and Deliver. And to put it really smartly, the Dawn of NXT decided to play Trick Williams' music at the crescendo of the match, providing that last second distraction, and booking his ticket to take on the NXT champion.
excellent booking, and I bet it was an excellent match. Um, I I love the character of the Dawn. It's come a long way from being a good guy, bad guy situation, but I love the character, and I want to see D'Angelo with the gold.
Okay.
I want to see it for two reasons. One, because I love the character and I love the work, and I think it would do wonders for his character. Because then you could prove that you are the Dawn of NXT. I have the belt. The similar to the way Carmello always said, "I'm him," and then he got the belt and said it proved that he was him.
Yeah.
But also because I just like the whole thing about I want to see Iliad move up to the main roster. I think it's time that he's moved on, and he definitely needs to drop the title. And why not Tony D'Angelo? That would be something that we wouldn't have expected 6 months ago when we still covered NXT because we were recording after it.
Yeah, I think Ilya has had a really long title reign. I do think his days are numbered. Will it be Tony that takes it from him? You know, we can't have every title change hands at Stand and Deliver. Well, we can. But maybe this one holds on until the next show. I don't know. I think for me, Tony versus Ilya, at least in the current build, is going to be completely overshadowed by the Carmello Hayes Trick Williams match. That is your big personal main event. That is the match that's been broiling away for a year, building and building and building.
In all honesty, that's probably actually going to be the main event. Mm-hmm. It probably isn't going to be the NXT Championship, which is fine because, as you said, it's the personal nature. Sometimes some personal issues just oversee championship, and the people that are upset about a main championship not main eventing a show just need to get over it because that's just the thing. Sometimes stories are just mean more. And that's the case for this. It's Carmella and Trick. It's a story that's been building for a year and a half, with Trick now standing on the same level as Carmello.
Which is definitely not something that you necessarily saw a year and a half ago. It really was Trick Williams as the sidekick to Carmello Hayes. We were talking about Carmello Hayes being, 1A, 1B with Bron Breakker. Trick Williams was plodding around, being used as a distraction for matches, and then he picks up a mid-card title for however long it picked it up for, but still had it, and has clawed his way up the card to, as you say, stand on that exact same pedestal.
And some could say he's actually more over than Carmello Hayes was at his height. I mean, the crowd goes absolutely ape crazy for him. They love that catchphrase.
Yeah, I think they definitely want to see Trick Williams, let's say, whoop that Hayes. Because it's a story as old as time, right? And we want to root for the good guy here. Trick's done nothing wrong. He's just been held back at every stage by his former friend, a guy he trusted. And we want to see him get his hands on him. The whole, security stopping them get together. Carmello just trying to protect himself at all times so he doesn't get hurt. Classic chicken poop behavior. You love to see it. You want to see them collide, and I'm sure they probably don't collide until that fateful day, Stand and Deliver, the bell rings, and it's gonna be a bloodbath. Probably not literally, but it'll be a hell of a fight. We also got some other news, not in NXT this week, that will lead into our song, but I guess there's a little bit of a discussion for it. We got our first inductee for the WWE Hall of Fame this year, and it's going to be none other than the wise man Paul Heyman.
Yeah, it's one big thing. It's like it was something we expected. It's the show's in Philadelphia, of course.
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense in terms of the ECW connection. It's a guy who's been around promoting for ages. His work valeting for multiple superstars, including Roman Reigns. The guy's had a Hall of Fame career, and what better location to do it in, right?
Yeah. Now the biggest question that's come up is like who will actually do the induction. I mean, you could have maybe Bubba Ray, Bully Ray, depending on the company.
Whatever you want to call him.
Yeah. You could have Tommy Dreamer, which I don't think will be that big of an issue because TNA and WWE are working together, at least on some capacity. And Tommy Dreamer is technically the head of creative for TNA. So you could have them do it. I think Raven might be a good choice.
Yeah.
Assuming that he would want to do it. There was one name that I was like, that would be interesting, but I'd be worried about handing him a mic.
I feel like that could be said for a few people.
Yeah. Shane Douglas.
Okay.
I worry about handing him a mic because he could do anything with it.
You just got to sit on the big red button.
Yeah. We all know it's not going to be New Jack. WWE's not wanting anything to do with that crazy MFer. It probably will end up being CM Punk, like the newest, the oldest generation of the new Heyman guys.
Yeah.
Probably will be Punk. It'll give him a reason to be there at WrestleMania.
You saying it's going to be Curtis Axel? Did I hear that? Bring back Ryback.
Oh God. But yeah, there's a lot of options it could be. Heck, I'd even be entertained with it being Kayla Baxton just because of the entertainment that we get week in and week out between their interviews. But yeah, I am surprised it took them this long to start announcing Hall of Fame inductees because I figured you'd want to sell tickets for it.
Yeah. Oh, we'll see who else joins them, and I guess who's as inductor, and how many other ECW alumni feature into this year's Hall of Fame cast. But that is going to be our entrance theme this week, the ECW theme, and it is playing for you right about now. And you're back at Roundup on FreeFM, ArrowFM, and MP. I'm Grady, he's Josh. We got to talk about the main roster segment on both Raw and on SmackDown. The Rock and Roman Reigns, they seem to run SmackDown. They got themselves a counter offer. They want the tag team match for the WrestleMania Day 1. Over on Raw, Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins hiding out on the red brand. They don't explicitly accept it, but it seems as though the challenge has been laid down and picked up.
Yeah. Probably by the time this airs, SmackDown will have aired shortly after, and we'll get the match officially.
Mm-hmm.
I will be very shocked if it's not the tag team match. It could end up being just a straight up one-on-one. Cody has to wrestle 2 matches situation. I think we are getting Seth turning on Cody.
Mm-hmm.
I think night 1, I think they win the tag match. Because the whole stipulation is going to be that with that tag match it would be with blocking the entirety of the bloodline from the match, right? I think that happens, but nothing says Seth Rollins can't interfere in the match. I think Seth will then have his world title match, maybe opening WrestleMania Night 2, and lose it to Drew.
Mm-hmm.
You'll have a segment maybe where Cody comforts him to some degree while getting ready for his match. And there'll be like maybe Seth just won't be in the mood or something, but it'll definitely be some chips in it. And then when Cody's ready to win the title, maybe he's just hit crossroads, and it looks like it's going to be a 1-2-3. Out of nowhere, a frog splash happens, and then a stomp, and then a spear, and the story isn't finished because it's being delayed to Survivor Series.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what combination all the pieces are gonna fall, right? But I do agree that it's gonna be the through story. WrestleMania Night 1 is most definitely going to be headlined by the big tag team match. WrestleMania Night 2 will probably open with Seth and will probably close with Cody. And that's just going to be our storyline. And we're going to be able to follow it through, and there's going to be a whole lot happening. You know, it's not going to be 2 or 3 simple matches. It's not going to just be a straight-up tag and then 2 straight-up singles matches. There's going to be shenanigans out the wazoo. There's going to be twists and turns and some stuff that people aren't expecting and some stuff that people are expecting. And all that I hope is that both nights are enjoyable and you come away and this complete show feels like it was fun to watch.
I think it will be. I think there's so much talent on the roster. We're going to get so much good matches. We're going to get so many good stories. We're going to get the Usos battling it out at WrestleMania.
You know what? Have them open Night 1, and then it can be the whole weekend.
We're going to be getting Bayley versus the Damage Control. We're going to be getting Rhea Ripley versus Becky Lynch. We're going to be getting so much stuff. That's going to be so many good stories that I can't wait for WrestleMania.
Well, you're going to have to. It's still about a month away. Still got a few more weeks to go. But you did mention there Bayley versus Damage Control. I see you didn't mention anybody else on Bayley's side. It's just Bayley on her little lonesome. How could that possibly have happened?
Oh, maybe because what we expected to happen happened. Very clearly, Bayley got turned on by Dakota Kai because Dakota Kai cannot be trusted by anybody.
No, Dakota Kai is a great friend, and everybody can trust her. Face Dakota Kai is not a ticking time bomb. Okay? She's the most trustworthy.
Yeah, I mean, she hasn't betrayed multiple people in the past.
I think she's betrayed literally everyone.
Yeah, and it's not like we didn't see her being like the secret leader the entire time. Kind of leading astray the other members. But yeah, but it does appear that maybe Bayley will have some help. Have some very strong help. At least on SmackDown, it kind of hinted to Jade Cargill being in Bayley's corner.
Okay, that's a wrinkle.
I think you only need one Jade Cargill to neutralize the entirety of Damage Control.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think for me, this story is, Bayley overcoming the odds, taking on, what is a 1-on-4 basically, and coming out on top here. We'll have to see. Obviously, with the Kabuki Warriors having the tag titles, they can have a challenger. Anything can come around from them. Dakota Kai recently flipping also gives you opportunity. But I, for one, can't wait for Bayley to overcome the odds and take out all of the group that she created, one by one. We have the smallest amount of time left. Is there anything you want to quickly throw in?
Rey Mysterio's back.
Rey Mysterio is back. The LWO love it.
Yeah, the LWO. I gotta admit, Wild and the other one, I still don't remember his name. Sorry.
Cruz del Toro.
Yeah. They are like the most lamest backup ever. What took them so long to actually get down to the ring to help Carlito while Santos Escobar and the new versions of them, Cabrera and Garza, were beating down Carlito. And then they get taken out pretty easily until after Mysterio's return, and he takes out everybody with a set of crutches. And then they take out Wild and Del Toro with cross bodies. I mean, it was a fun segment, but it's like, how can you supposed to believe in the LWO when it's like pulling teeth to even get anything useful from them?
Personally, I'm just kind of loving the fact that we can have 2 big factions like this. We used to sit around and go like, oh, who's going to be the next big Mexican star, or the next big Latin American star? And, if you include everybody, you've got like 9 odd people in this feud alone, not including like Andrade, who's out of it. That's a lot of talent.
Yeah, Andrade's on Raw. I think the next Latino star, though, is also on Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Although it could it's been shifting for the entire time, so it's possible they could shift easily. But I think it's Dominic. I think Dominic is the next Latino star, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to see, because, we keep saying the next one. Who knows where we'll be in 2 years. But the roster is full of Latino talent right now. And unfortunately, we are not full of time. In fact, we are empty of time, because that's all we've got for this week. It's been great talking to you.
Bye, B.
You can visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/WrestlingRNDup, or our Twitter page, twitter.com/WrestlingRNDup, or our YouTube page, youtube.com/WrestlingRNDup. And we will catch you next week.